So, welcome everyone to the podcast we will have today for you about AI and logistics. My name is Richard van Hooijdonk. I'm a futurist and trend watcher, and my passion is the future and everything that belongs to tomorrow. Today, we have a special guest, a really interesting conversation too about agentic AI with Alex Lisitzky. Alex, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much, Richard. It's
Can you maybe
great.
help me pronounce your last name?
Lisitzky. It's pronounced Lisitzky.
Okay, let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's do it in the right way.
But you can call me Alex. It's going to be a lot
Just
easier
call
for
you
everybody.
Alex for
Yeah,
this podcast is
absolutely.
better. Really nice to talk to you. We had a good brief, and I mean you're quite young. I really like your approach on AI in general, and you have quite a wide career in logistics. So you came from the university. Maybe it's good to tell a bit more about yourself.
Yeah, so real brief. I've been building software products, I think, for the last 15 years plus now. I've started my own company in the beginning, roughly 10 years ago, called Supply Stack. We quite successfully grew that, got acquired by Transporion roughly 3 years ago. Then Transporion got acquired by Trimble. And now I'm with Trimble. At the beginning, I've been overseeing various roles, but I think my last role is probably the most interesting for this podcast, and that is where I've been focused on leading different teams within our applied AI group in our organization, specifically focusing around building solutions with and around large language models.
Yeah, and it's a fast-growing area, so I think they need you, to do this really nice acquisition. Though I think there's a lot of companies now acquiring AI organizations to get smarter. Really nice. Thank you for the introduction. I think this podcast is about agentic AI, and we both know what agentic AI is or AI agents. But maybe it's good to start with the foundation and get a little bit more familiar with what AI agents are. What would your definition be if you explain agentic AI to people?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I think if I look at it, over the past year and a half, talking to different people, the term agent is being misused still quite a bit, I think, in the industry. We also started using it quite early before we actually had it. So I think you're right. Let's maybe first establish a baseline. And if you would ask me what an agent is, up until very recently, I would have, I think, one definition. And this is more like a capabilities-focused definition. There I would have said something along the lines like, an agent is an autonomous system that is able to observe its environment, make its own decisions, create its own plan, and execute tasks and apply reasoning to achieve a goal, right? And it would do all of these autonomous without any need to have humans in the loop, and would be able to chain these workflows together. And that's what an agentic system and agents would look like. And I like that. It's a good, very broad, capability-focused explanation.
Yeah, and they're well trained to collaborate, right? Because it's usually not one agent; it's different agents working together. And if you talk about agents to people around you, how do they respond if you explain this?
Well, I think I'd like. Let me give you the second definition, which I also think is quite interesting, and I like it, and I like it quite a lot actually. And it's something I stumbled on recently when I was reading a blog post of Simon Willison, who is quite known and very highly regarded, both engineer in the community and an AI researcher. And his blog post talks about how the developer community finally came together to align on what an agent is. And their definition is smaller, it's more compact, and it goes along the lines that an agent is a set of tools around a large language model running in the loop to achieve a goal. And as you see, it's a lot shorter. And what I like it is because it really brings down the essence of the building blocks to create an agent. And these are in essence the tools, the loop are the prompts, and the large language model orchestrates the prompts and the loops, in a way how humans doesn't need to interact with it anymore.
So yeah, that's quite challenging because there's a lot of those repetitive, predictable tasks that will be automated already and will be in the future. But I mean, for example, what I usually, when I talk about agents, I really like to give them examples in order to know that, for example, we have these drones flying at the war in Ukraine, but anywhere, and those drones are able to see the surroundings. They have cameras, they have sensors, and they also have their assignments and their targets and their timings and their energy systems. and they use generative AI actually to predict when to attack or when to go back to the base. So that's
Mhm.
also one of the examples I usually give. Another really nice example, which clarifies agentic really well, is I see a lot of things happening in the customer service environment right now. So
Mhm.
when you connect to those agents, the first one understands what you're saying because it's trained to listen and to see what you're typing. The
Mhm.
second one challenges the language model and find different scenarios. The third one monitors the system that executes the decision, and the fourth one has a conversation with you to talk about what they did or what's the proposal is. So these different small agents. We also were actually talking about the super ego agent, which is something you will have too, and that will guide you during your day, taking the best decisions ever made. I think there's a lot of things happening right now, also in the financial services. You look into the future too. I mean, we had a conversation. I really like the way you look ahead. What could be the next steps within your organization or your department when it's about agentic AI?
Yeah, so if we look at the natural progression first, I think we make a step back, right? And you asked me for example. I like to use this example. I think when I speak to people about agents over the last year, I'll broadly categorize them as like the three levels of confusion. Uh, Sometimes I talk to people and they refer to agents, but they actually talk about chatbots. Sometimes I talk to people and they talk about agents, but they actually mean automated workflows. And then ultimately, sometimes I talk to people about agents and they actually mean that these are agents. And the progression is quite natural. I think if you use an example and you rewind 2 years ago, we started with generative AI, ChatGPT. It's like a very smart researcher. You can go, you can give it a task, and it will reactively give you back a response. Tools improved and we got a bit better and we wanted to get a bit more out of it, and we connected tools to chatbots, right? And now you can ask it a question and this researcher can go on and maybe access Wikipedia or a different source and give you a better answer. Again, third step, I think, is workflows, where we, again, through reasoning models that got better and through tools that got better, now able to take these chatbots and the tools and start chaining them together to, like in a waterfall effect, to achieve, but still a predetermined and sequenced set of actions to achieve a goal. And now finally, I think we're coming back to this agentic workflow that we can create in an agentic setup where we ultimately can chain all these agents together to start creating meaningful autonomous workflows. Now, how does that relate to Trimble, right? So if I look at the industry pattern right now, and I think the most successful use cases that we see in the industry are often use cases of internal deployment and internal usage. A lot of the AI leading industries like healthcare, manufacturing, supply chain mostly focus on deploying these strategies and these agents and these workflows internally. And the idea there is to create a ecosystem and a scalable infrastructure that they could leverage to ultimately create agents for their customers. And it is also how we approach it at Trimble, I think. If I look at our work, we have several dedicated AI product units within Trimble. And I'm within one of these dedicated AI product units, so to speak. And these product units consist out of multiple teams that work on various solutions around large language models. They're building chatbots, they're building workflows, we're building agents. And we do that across all the verticals in our company internally, try to create efficiencies first, try to scale agents, understand what infrastructure and network we would need that so that we can ultimately translate that into customer experiences. And these customer experiences would manifest themselves most likely next year in our 2026 roadmap. For this year, we are, as I said, very heavily focused on internal efficiency. And I could speak on some of these examples that I'm closely involved in, and maybe give you also a couple of examples of other teams that are working on agents.
Yeah, because let's make it more factual. I mean, you guys are, of course, the internal organization profits from agentic AI really much right now already. Can you give us two examples of how you guys internally are resetting activities with agentic AI?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're still a software company, right? And we're still creating software and products that our customers love. And I think in there, generating code is one of the most highest leverage activities that we have. So I think on that front, we have a lot of effort and dedication that goes into autonomous code generation, agents, and solution in that space. And we're making very good progress. We're tackling it on two fronts. On one hand, the coding AI assistant world is quite maturing itself quite fast. Tools like Cursor, Copilot, so allowing developers to accelerate their traditional coding experience with vibe coding. We're leaning quite heavily on that, but also developing our own solutions that should take and fully automate that cycle, where we take away portions of the work of engineers they don't like to do, of complexities that we can handle today, and fully automate that cycle. And I think that is the first step of increasing our velocity and increasing our quality and productivity as a whole in the organization.
It's a nice example. And also, what about, bookkeeping, planning, logistics, and these things internally? Also plans to work on that part?
Yeah, definitely. It is not something I can speak to immediately as a project that I'm involved in. But you touched upon customer support recently, and that's another very good example that our company also has worked on. We have an agent called Selena. That agent is already deployed in the organization, and today already solves the majority of all the support customer tickets that are coming in for most of our applications today. Really helping the customer support team, both decreasing the time to respond, but also increasing the quality of the response, and just being a lot more efficient with the way we handle customer support. And I think these are the exact examples of how we see this being translated later also to our customers,
But
right?
it's just the beginning stage. I mean, everyone knows next year there will be new propositions and new solutions coming. That this is how these things go. Really nice. But what I see, for example, I think Amazon is one of my examples. I really, I'm inspired about. They use these AI generic concepts to predict the forecast. They try to. They have these huge sales moments, and with these agents, they try to predict demand based on what they need for the next months or weeks. It's also the deep fleet, Amazon robotic fleet, also a really nice
Mhm.
thing. They optimize the path and congestion and things. So they use a lot of AI within the warehouse, outside the warehouse, and especially to predict demand to production. I think these are more like the bigger executions, but I
Mhm.
think we will get there. Also within the whole logistics, the trucks. Yesterday I had a meeting with Volvo. They're now actually using uh, agents to optimize the routes, traffic, weather conditions, vehicle capacities. They try to combine it all in one agent concept. So I think it's happening everywhere, but nobody is done. Nobody is ready, right? So we
No,
are
no.
actually trying and playing. And I think the trying and playing is one aspect of your job, right? Because it's not a done deal. We need time for this. How do you guys internally play with AI?
Well, I would phrase it more as research and development than playing. I think that sounds a little bit more, ROI driven. But as I said, I think today you spoke about planning. I spoke about customer support and accelerating engineering. But we also have like a very strong focus, for example, on AI safety. There are various teams in our organization that focus on making sure that these agents and workflows that we are exposing internally are all within the expected safety and reliability, let's say, parameters. So that's another very hot topic, I think, that we need to get right before we're going to go to the customer. A lot of scaling and testing is required there to get this right. But also, in different verticals, we're creating agents that assists our salespeople in their sales cycles. We're creating agents that assist at the front funnel of product, let's say, ideation, really trying to catch and capture customer intent and translate that into concrete specifications that we can use to feed them autonomously into our engineering pipeline. And all these building blocks are now coming together. And that's the part where we would need to start moving from micro agents that execute a specific task into an ecosystem of agents that are, chained together, and start, creating this vision that you were describing, the self-organizing supply chain, so to speak.
Yeah, more like the overlapping agents, overlapping departments, right? That's where you're talking about.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, we just talked about the playing. I really think that playing is the right word, because a lot of organizations, they try to put a lot of rules on the use of AI, but I think it's really nice, and I would like to have your opinion on that part, that we give people the freedom to experiment with AI within their own job. Could be finance, could be sales. What's your take out on that part?
Yeah, I think obviously it's a very interesting trajectory, and I think that is exactly how every single digital employee will ultimately need to reschool themselves. You will need to be better at becoming more digital literate and have analytical skills. I think that's the only way how to thrive in this future of tomorrow. So I think that part is extremely important.
Yeah, because I mean, in the end, if you talk about the self-organizing supply chain where different agents working together, overlapping departments and sub-industries, there's also kind of a worry we all have because these agents are quite smart and they're able to take over a lot of repetitive, predictable tasks. According to McKinsey, it could be around 30% in 2030, which is a huge number. So this should be addressed. And so, what is, in your opinion, needed to create the balance between people and machines? We talked about it before. I would like to have your opinion on it from Trimble perspective.
Well, I think let's maybe take a step back, and I would like to look at it more pragmatically. Drawing from the experiences that I had building in and around LLMs for the last year. It's not always as easy as just, we have an agent and it does everything. So if we look at it from a timeline perspective, right, today we have the scaling issue I think that we'll need to face first. And that is we have now this ability to build micro agents that orchestrate just one task. And the idea is, how do we chain this together? And if we look at the timeline and the evolution of standards, for example, the MCP standard is, for example, a huge game changer for the industry. Not even 11 months ago, we did not have any MCP servers, or the MCP protocol did not exist, right? And today, when we talk about agent, it is almost impossible to talk about agents without talking about MCPs in the same breath. It is adopted in every single organization. And that allows us now to scale faster and to talk about agents. The MCPs really contributed to that. And the timeline is crazy. We're going from, in less than a year, not having MCPs, by today having it adopted by almost every organization working on agents. And the same trend will continue. New standards are being introduced that are very important to push this forward and to create this collaboration. For example, the A2A standard, the agent-to-agent standard introduced by Google in April 2025, which today, is housed in the Linux Foundation and adopted by over 100 technology companies, I think, and even more by now. And all these tools are extremely important to set that standard and to unlock the next level of automation. We will be able to go from, an inventory management system, a transport management system, and a warehouse can actually start talking to a humanoid. And I think that part becomes really important, is we would also sync the lag that we have between robotics now with the advancements that we're making also on the AI side of things.
Yeah, that is true. But I'm a futurist, so I really like to challenge you a little bit more. I
Okay.
mean, it takes more time. It takes more time for people actually to build this world, right? But let's imagine we will have ChatGPT coming, new language models coming, quantum computing coming. Let's look at. I mean, let's talk about 10 years from now. Where are we in 10 years from now? How does it look? How do we work? Can you give me kind of an example how you see this from now to 10?
Well, I think first of all, let's agree on the fact that despite the fact that AI is really taking off and it's clear in every single vertical of the industry right now, there is still this data that proves something different, and that is that not every single AI solution is being adopted that well today on the market. We don't need to immediately jump into conclusion of like massive job displacements, because recent research from IT still shows that there is quite a lot of companies abandoning initiatives that they are starting. And I think it's important to understand first why. And that is because a lot of, and that's for two reasons, I think. First is the infrastructure reason. A lot of companies are not really ready yet to scale AI at the same pace that they thought they would. There is poor data infrastructure, often unclear business values, and I think integration challenges altogether. You can't throw an MCP server at every problem. You really need to rethink this through. But I think the next part, which is the human aspect part of it, is also very important. I think if you look at the data, and that tells a slightly different story, like I was reading a recent publication from the World Economic Forums, and they predicted by 2030, we will create, roughly 170 million new jobs in the AI sector, and we will lose roughly 92 million jobs. That's more or less a net gain of 80 million.
Yeah.
Now, obviously that's hypothetical, and there is a lot of simulation in there, but there's also a lot of hope in there about how we would face this future. I think it is evident to say that if we have this triangle of human, data, and compute, then it is very likely that your job will get automated, in the next years to come. But I don't think this is also a cry for panic, right? Because if you look at the history, let's say 250 years ago, I think 98% of the population were farmers. That was the main job, agriculture. If you look at it today, that's roughly 2% of the population are farmers, and agriculture represents, that market. But we still produce, food at a much higher rate with a much higher quality. And if you would ask these people in the 1700s, like, imagine the jobs of the future, they wouldn't say DJs and, full-time game streamers and software engineers.
No, they won't.
And I think we are going to witness a very similar pattern where new jobs will be created, some jobs will be pushed out. But I think the main thing that I would like to underline here about all of this is the importance of, transforming yourself and learning new skills. I think that's the real message here. The risk is not. You want to say something?
No, go ahead. I think it's true. What we now see that leadership is now being trained to work with AI in order for them to be better people, And I see the same in more industries, but I think that there's a bigger challenge. In 1960, the average woman got 5 babies, and now it's around 1.5 or 1.3. It's less. So that means that the added value of AI is also really needed. So in my opinion, we will see an extension of the jobs in those repetitive, predictable tasks being disrupted. You see it in insurance companies not typing information in anymore. So it will continue. And I think people should do things where people are good at, and machines should do the same things where machines are good at. And I think this collaboration is quite important, but that needs different skill set. So these companies need to be trained differently. People need different skills. Otherwise, they will be wiped out. That's what I see. So, of course, it is not something really urgent right now, but I do see a lot of companies being resistant against AI, while their competitors do. What do you take out on that part? Company says, I will not take AI because I have people running in my company and I want to keep them running. And the other company says, I will have AI in my organization, but I will give people different roles. I will change the skill set and the jobs they have. Is it actually aligning also with your opinion?
Yeah, it does. It really does align with my opinion. I think on the short term, like next 2 to 3 years, I think the real risk is not being, replaced or displaced by AI, but is actually being replaced or displaced by a human who is more effective working with AI than you. I think that's the real risk, because if you see now, the top growing skills, AI is right there at the front of it. And, being aware of it and being mindful of what's happening right now as an individual, not only as a company, is extremely important, because we are really in a humanity defining moment almost. And you need to understand that where we transition now from a era where you will need to have almost a lifelong commitment to learn. Where previously, you would learn a skill, you'll be a data analyst or a lawyer or, an accountant, and you would continue doing this maybe with micro learnings in and around your career. That perspective will change now really fast. And you will need to be able to learn and continue learning to keep up.
But what do you think of all those companies? People with AI will replace people without AI, right? That's actually what's happening. But there's also something like companies who will not use AI intensively will be replaced by companies who will, because they will be faster and smarter. What do you tell to those people, those organizations that really are not interested in AI and want to keep on doing what they did? What's your take out on that part? What
Well,
would
I
you
think
tell them?
I'll tell them to read on the Nokia story, I guess, right? That's what I'd really tell them. I think the example is now so evident that AI will take almost every corner of our life that it's hard. It's like talking to flat earthers, I guess, at some point now. So it is so evident that AI will dominate a lot of the fields. I think companies should listen.
Yeah,
That's what I would say.
there's a big trend. We call it the AI first company. We were visiting a company in Germany, and they had 40,000 people working there, and they had a bookkeeping department where 200 people were working, and they're
Mhm,
hiring 20 people every year. So we went into the organization and we were checking out a few things, and then came out that the same bookkeeping can be done with AI, with maybe 6, 7 people, and not 200. And
mhm,
this is something actually people should worry about. I mean, AI, we don't have to fear AI. We need to use it in the right way, and also use our people in the right way. And that's the biggest challenge: right skill set, right
mhm.
mindset, and the right business model. Um, what is your big next challenge? I want to know it personally, but also want to know it from Trimble perspective, because you have some challenges going on right now.
Mhm. Well, the first challenge within Trimble, I would say, is the several tracks that I'm leading, specifically the one around automating and accelerating code generation, is something that I would really like to get right. I think that will accelerate a lot of our product delivery, both in terms of traditional software that we build,
Yeah,
but also the new experiences that we've built. Um, so that's something that I think is one of my uh, direct goals that I would like, and milestones I would like to achieve still this year, hopefully. And then obviously very excited to see how we translate it into customer experiences next year, because I think that's a whole different beast to tackle. But if you'd ask me what I'm really excited about AI right now,
mhm.
there is the obvious thing. AI has very broad applicability, and it's almost unimaginable to think that it would not impact every corner of our life, personally, professionally. And I think I can holistically say this as it will automate and take away a lot of the things that we don't like doing, and will improve the user experience on a lot of the things that we like doing, right? Giving us back a lot of free time. But that's evident. And that's not something that I'm the most excited about, to be honest. I think that's kind of the natural progression of it.
Yeah. Yeah, and we need transformation skills to make sure that this happens. It's really important. And something on the personal side, your personal challenge for the next year. We love to hear that.
Personal challenge for the next year. I think personal challenge for the next years to come. I really think we're in this defining moment for humanity, as I said, and I don't mean that lightly. I think everything that got us up until where we are today, and what would take us to build AGI, will, I think, fundamentally shift uh, for us as humanity. If you go back in time as much as you can, as much as we've captured knowledge. We've built as humans on that timeline, and we had countless very very successful people building tools, amazing tools that have different level of impact and sophistication, um, different level of impact and sophistication in terms of how we use them, right? And we talk about things like I know, the wheel, gunpowder, science altogether, religion,
Yeah.
toilet paper, and computers ultimately. And there is one thing in common with all these tools, and that is it required a human to excel in this, right? And that's how we moved forward. And
Right.
we got,
Go ahead. Sorry.
just to finish, sorry. And I think we got, so good at building these tools that we are approaching a moment where we are going to build an extraordinary tool that will allow us to, uh, if we get the GI right, push society forward without human intervention anymore. And on every single field where we are competing, science, finance, uh, math, politics, all of these fields will be dominated by innovation that will come through AI. And I think that timeline and the fact that we're in it, is extremely exciting for me.
Exciting times, right? All right. Thank you so much. I think we learned that we're not there yet, right? It's especially a matter of data points. If you don't have the data and the data points, you're nothing. So it's really important to have a good foundation on
Mhm.
technology, on AI within the organization. Second thing we talked about is people versus machines, and it won't be that bad, but it will be bad if you completely deny AI. I think
Yeah.
that's something important. Thank you so much for joining. I hope you enjoyed. I enjoyed your stories. I mean, we can talk for hours, I think, about this topic. Thank you so much. The next podcast episode, we will discuss the dark side of AI because it has great stories,
Mhm.
but we also need to talk about the other side. So thank you so much for listening.